Hi, this is Exploring with Em and Stu.
And today we brought you back to Suffolk, where we're going to be taking a look at some more of the World War II defences here. So we've previously been following the coastline, looking at the coastal crust stop line.
Yeah.
But of course these stop lines weren't actually limited just to the coast, because of course if the enemy was to break through on the beaches and onto the land, additional stop lines were built crisscrossing the country, and these were made up of pillboxes, of course, and anti-tank blocks and anti-tank ditches and all sorts of things. And it's actually some of these defences that we're actually going to take a little look at today.
I think we're going to have a look.
Right, let's go. But as well as trying to prevent the enemy from being able to advance across the country, it was also critical from trying to prevent them from being able to invade and take over any of our ports, like the one that we've actually got here at Lowestoft, because if they did, then of course they'd be able to land large waves of troops and anything that they might have needed to be able to invade the whole country. And like so many ports, Lowestoft was turned into a fortress and given defences around its entire perimeter to try and protect it from falling into enemy hands. And we've heard there's actually a fair amount of these defences left, particularly to the north of the town. And it's some of these that we're actually going on a hunt today to see how many we can find.
And here comes Emma from doing a rather fabulous introduction there. But we are going to start taking a walk directly towards the seafront. Now, it is a bit confusing about this place, of what it was and who was here. But as far as I can see, this was a port and fort and all that sort of thing.
So Lowestoft was a really important port during World War II. There was as many as 5 Royal Naval establishments here, including HMS Europa, which is known as the Sparrow's Nest. And I do believe that they had as many as 6,000 sort of recruits here at any one time, and as many as 70,000 passed through here during World War II. So well, you can imagine the amount of seamen that would have been in the town at any one time.
Yeah.
But of course it was also very important to the merchant navy, because they used this port for a lot of their supplies and things that of course they couldn't always put everything on a train.
No, of course not.
They were a bit overrun, so they were bringing coal from the north and all sorts. And you can imagine that if the Germans had managed to take that from us, then we would have been in trouble, wouldn't we?
Of course.
So it was quite important to defend this town.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that before we actually take you for a little look at some of these defences that they actually put in place.
Okay.
So the perimeter of defences that was constructed around Lowestoft mainly consisted of anti-tank ditches to the south of the town, which are really just earth dug out ditches, so not too easily to identify. But to the north of the river and around here, they were actually mainly anti-tank blocks. Of course, these are concrete blocks, and actually they're a lot easier for us to identify nowadays.
I've just scrambled through here, and Emma's just
caught
coming
up.
through the back here, scrambling through. But we've actually arrived now at where the anti-tank blocks are, haven't we?
Yeah, so we're just in an area called Tramps Alley. And we came here a few years ago, didn't we? Because we knew that there was a line of anti-tank blocks that run right from the coast, and you can possibly hear that in the background there. And it runs for quite some distance, sort of towards the west of the town, running along obviously the actual north of the town. And this is actually a really well preserved sort of collection, isn't it, of anti-tank blocks. Now, sadly, things have changed a bit since we came here years ago, and they've actually built a caravan park, or extended a caravan park.
That's what this...
covering up quite a large majority of these anti-tank blocks, but there are still some of them here, just about in the undergrowth, so seems a shame not to take you for a little look.
Well, as we're on, what I'll do is I'll just swap over to Emma. I'll come behind and she'll sort of guide you where maybe we can see little glimmers of them, because they are covered in ivy, stinging nettles.
Yeah, they're rather
every other bush you could probably think of that's in England. So I'm going to switch you over. There you go. And
right,
Emma will take you through.
Right, so like I said, this is an area called Tramps Alley. I believe this path that goes down to the coast is quite popular with fishermen apparently, because I think the sea's quite deep here and it's maybe good for cod, I think. Well, I may be wrong there. But this area, of course, was not taken over by the caravan park and just left to, well, to overgrown really, but just through this bush here, if you can try and get through here, we can actually see some of these anti-tank blocks, and here they are. Like I said, they're a bit overgrown now, but we've got, let me see if I can count them. Gosh, no, they go quite fast, so I'm not sure if I can see the ones down there, but there's at least 2 or 3 to this side of me, and I think we must have maybe 4 or 5 here up until the fence, and we do know that they continue on through the fence. But while I'm here, I'll tell you a little bit about these if you don't know. Of course, these were constructed to try and stop any tanks from being who had maybe got onto the beach, being able to sort of get along the beach, or also if they came from the north, being able to get into the town. And these are just reinforced concrete blocks, and they sort of range from about 3.5 foot to around about 5 foot. I think what we've got here is very likely the 3.5 foot style. And really, these ones are quite early, probably pre-1941, and we can tell that because they're sort of lined up side by side. Now, later on in the war, they actually sort of put them at right angles to each other. I assume that they thought that if the tank was trying to hit them from this sort of side here, it would make them a bit stronger. But I mean, there's not an awful lot more I can tell you about these, but there was literally hundreds and hundreds of these, all sort of lining the north of Lowestoft here. So we're going to see if we can take you for a little peek over the holiday park fence, because years ago there was quite a lot of them continuing through there. But so I think I'll get out these bushes and I'll head off there and we'll see what we can see.
And just here we are, we just moved over from the ones there. This is the continuation now, going up there through to the holiday camp.
There's another 3 here, and actually we think that the one that is now against the fence there looks a lot larger. That looks like it could be one of those 5-foot blocks. And I do believe from memory that the ones that were in the holiday park now were bigger ones, weren't they?
I think
I'm
so.
sure they were. I have got some photographs of what they looked like when we took our photos here 5-6 years ago now. But like I said, we're going to sort of go along this fence here and we're going to see if we can take a little peek at those, I think, because it sort of seems worth having a little look before we continue on to the rest of our defences.
And here we are at the next set, the continuation, if you like, of the anti-tank blocks that we have just come from.
That's it, and these continued, like I said, all the way through this caravan park, and we just had a peek over the fence, and we do know that they're actually still there, so I think we'll probably either insert that or maybe take you for a little peek over this fence. But yeah, we've got 3 of them here that of course have not been taken over by the caravan park, and again, very much like the ones that we saw down near the sea, they've just been left here to get covered in ivy and all sorts. And I guess a lot of people probably wonder what on earth they are if they don't know much about the defences here. But we are wondering whether or not these continue through the woodland that are on the other side, because originally, of course, they would have done. These went round the entire perimeter of the north part of the town here. We know that from old maps and things. There would have been literally hundreds of them. So there must be 1 or 2 of them left in those woods because it's not been developed. So I think we're going to have a little look over there and see if we can find any more. We're just walking from the cafe, which is actually in the park at the moment, looking for some more anti-tank blocks, aren't we? Yeah, because we said that we were going to continue over the road, didn't we, and through the trees, because we know that the line of anti-tank blocks did continue all along here, supposedly, but we've not actually been able to find any sign of them, have we? No. So I can only assume that they've been removed, I suppose, but like so many of them. But there is actually a couple that are meant to be down here, and there's a reason why they were down here, and hopefully when we get down here we're actually going to find them, so we'll see you when we get there.
See you there.
And so here we are at the features that I wanted to show you. And you probably can't see them yet, but just in front of me, just here, is in fact some great big anti-tank blocks. And we've actually got 3 of them here. It looks like they've actually fallen on their side, but I'll take you for a little closer look at them in a minute. But there's a very good reason as to why these were actually here, because if we actually take you for a little swivel all the way around here, then we've actually got an abandoned railway bridge. And this was part of the Great Yarmouth via Galston to Lowestoft railway line, and it's actually completely abandoned now. But of course, these areas needed protecting as well, and we do believe that those anti-tank blocks that we've got here probably were once upon a time underneath here, blocking the entrance to this little way in, basically, into Lowestoft. And so, as promised, here's a closer look at these 3 anti-tank blocks that we've got here. And I think, as I might have said, it looks like they've actually been pushed over because the bases are just on the other side here. But we can actually see these ones a lot clearer than the other ones. And if we just look at the top here, you can actually see where they've been made up through probably wooden shuttering made into a mould with just some reinforcement in the middle and the concrete poured in. But we think these have likely been moved, like I said, from over here as a bit of a roadblock, because they were often the case. But these weren't the only defences that were protecting any enemies being able to get into the town via the railway line, because there's actually a few more just up there. And that's where we're going to take you for a look at next.
And here we are. We've just literally just climbed up from the bottom there where the portal or the railway bridge, if you like, it's just at the bottom, and we've climbed to the top to find some anti-tank blocks. There's
some more anti-tank blocks up here, which we weren't necessarily expecting to find these, but I can only assume, again, you know, they were trying to prevent any enemies being able to use that train line, the vulnerable sort of spot of the town, to be able to get into it. And I guess at the side of the train line, they had some anti-tank blocks, and very likely maybe some sort of a road block or something that they would have put over there, we assume anyway.
Well, we're actually assuming that the 2 anti-tank blocks that were beneath us that Emma showed you a little while ago was actually under the portal, don't we?
We think so, yeah. Again, I mean, sometimes they had slots in them where they could just slot some sort of roadblock into them, but those ones don't, do they? So we're not overly sure where they are, but again, very likely used as some sort of an access block, aren't they?
And this is why these are such good investigations, because it's a lot of guesswork, a lot of actually knowing what it is, and a lot of people like yourselves that actually asked us questions or even let us know what they were.
Yeah, and sometimes we don't even know what we're going to find. We didn't know that there was anti-tank blocks on top of this railway bridge, so that's quite cool to find.
But we are going to now, I think, go down under the portal to look for some more remnants, aren't we?
Before we actually get underneath there, we've got something a little bit more interesting to show you, and it's actually directly along this railway line.
Yes,
so we're going to follow the original track bed and see if we can find these features.
There you go. So, in the words of Cinna Black, surprise, surprise, we have a pillbox. Quite excited to see this one, because this is actually in a very good condition.
It certainly is. I mean, we've just come just a little way along the railway line. We sort of come east, I think, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we've actually got 2 pillboxes here, built to protect basically the railway line.
The railway, because obviously where we're standing, if I just take you along here, this is actually where the railway line came in from, and obviously just down the bottom here is where the dugout is, isn't it?
That's it.
This is the mound. That's at the bottom of it.
Yeah, so this is the embankment, just down the side of the embankment. And of course, as we were saying with these stop lines, you know, they weren't only on the coast.
No.
You know, they were built in any vulnerable
area,
places, and of course trying to protect the town of Lowestoft. The railway line in and out of it was a very vulnerable area to be able to invade. So yeah, we've actually got 2 here.
Yeah. So
I can actually take you for a little look at this one. I'll take you for a very brief tour of it.
The other one,
Stu's had a little peek in to make sure it's all safe. I'm going to take the torch and give you a very brief tour.
So I'm going to hand you over to Emma now, our navigator, and hopefully she'll have some interesting things to say about it.
Hopefully.
See you in a minute.
And so here it is. As you can see, it's sort of partially buried nowadays. It very likely was when it was built as well. But this is actually a Type 22 Suffolk Square. So if you watched our previous video of Gunton Cliffs, we saw many of these Suffolk Square Type 22 variants, which are quite unique to Suffolk. And we've got a loophole just there, and no doubt there's 2 loopholes around the other side But here's the entrance. But maybe before I actually take you inside, I'll just take you for a little look around the other side to see if there is anything else to see. Because technically there should be some loopholes. And yes, we've got one here and one there. And no doubt around the other side is another two. But these are relatively large pillboxes. And they would have been manned by, I think, 6 men if they could actually find 6 men to man them. Of course, they didn't always have enough people to be able to man them. But let's have a little look. Let's just get the torch on because I'm expecting it to be quite dark in here. And we've actually got quite a tight squeeze into this one. But it still informs me that it's actually relatively clean compared to some of the ones that we've seen. Oh, he didn't warn me about the cobweb on the way in. And, oh, here we go. Oh, wow, actually, yes. It's actually relatively clean. I haven't got the best torch today, I'm afraid, so I'm going to see what I can do. But this one, I can actually stand with almost a foot above me, so it's not too infilled. But we can see we've got a couple of loopholes there, 2 there, and 1 here. And of course, there isn't any there because that's all infilled, and no doubt it was built to be against the embankment anyway. But we've got some rifle shelves there. These ones are actually fixed, which is not overly common. Quite often they were wooden and they would be you'd be able to fold them up, but these ones are all sort of solid concrete ones, and they'd have had Bren guns and really whatever they could really find to use. Back in the time, as you know, they didn't have an awful lot of weapons, especially at the beginning. But I'll just take you for, let's try and avoid the swastikas. But you can see that the roof is just a slatted wooden mould really, and they just poured the concrete in. But yeah, there is a little bit of graffiti in here, and it's on closer inspection it's not the best. But I just wanted to take you for a little look anyway. But I think we'll get out and we'll go back and see if we can find Stu, and see if we can also find the other one, because on the other side I do believe there's an identical one just like this. So I'm going to get back up there and we'll take you for a little look. So we're just leaving our first pillbox just down the embankment just there, and we're coming of course over the track bed, and we're actually got, as I said, another pillbox just down this embankment. So I think I'll take you for a little look and we'll see if we can get in this one. It's a little bit more hidden, but by the looks of it I think the entrance is still clear. And here we go again through the trees, and this one is actually a bit easier to get to, but it's a little bit more hidden, so maybe not so many people know about it. But gosh, this one is certainly an awful lot more sort of covered over on the top. Look, I mean, you can barely even make out the line of where it was. I do wonder whether when we get around the other side if we can see the loopholes of it peeking out, but it looks like it's relatively easy to get in. So again, we'll get the torch out and we'll see if we can slide our way in. And gosh, these ones have certainly got quite small entrances into them compared to some of the other ones that we've come across. But let's have a little peek. I don't know if I'm going to properly go in this one because it will be identical to the other one. But there you go. This one has obviously been used by somebody at some point who has been living in it. I mean, these quite often are. They're quite out of the way. They're quite sheltered. But again, you can see it's got loopholes on that side, and it's got 2 just to the right there. And we've also got those little shelves there for their guns. But there's actually less graffiti in this one, so it's quite nice. But no, other than that, there's not really much else that I haven't already said. So I think what I'll do is I'll back you out the best I can in the most professional manner that I can. And just taking a little look at this small loophole just here on the way out, and maybe get round the other side once we're met up with Stu up there.
We've just come from the top of this
Embankment.
embankment, the portal. We're just walking through now. It's actually quite cool,
I
isn't
know,
it?
it's almost like a tunnel for us people here in Norfolk, but it's not, it's just a really wide bridge.
That's it.
But quite a good example of it.
It is.
And there's actually quite a few original features from the railway dotted along here, but of course this isn't a railway video, but if anyone's interested, we do actually plan on coming back here
We
and
are.
making a video of the railway. But we just to stop here for a second and swing you around, we were just having a little look in the bushes down here, because there's actually quite a lot of concrete, which does look very much like more of those anti-tank blocks that we saw up the top here. So no doubt they've probably just fallen down. Bits of it are coping stones from the bridge and all sorts, but I think there's probably some more anti-tank blocks mixed amongst that. But we're hoping if we continue along this public footpath that we will actually find a few more sort of anti-tank blocks that we can actually identify. So we're going to get on walking and hopefully we'll find some more.
Just walking down this actual pleasant, I'm going to call it an alleyway, but I say this is like a back route to where Pleasurable Deals is, just here. We've actually come across where a ditch is, and there's loads of remnants of broken anti-tank blocks, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Now, if you was to line this up with where we started down at the coast,
Yeah.
this is exactly in line with
This is the line, yeah.
This is just the continuation of that line of anti-tank blocks. And of course, we didn't find any further back towards
No.
the country park, but here they are. And if we sort of continue, and I'll show you in a minute, there actually looks like there's quite a few of them. We're not
Yeah.
too sure how far they go, but I'll take you for a little look anyway.
That's it. So I'm going to switch the camera around now, and Emma will literally show you exactly where this line ends or
Yeah,
starts,
I don't know
or
where
wherever
it
you
ends. We'll have a look, I suppose.
Okay.
And so I don't know how well you can see just behind us, but we've got all sorts of bits of concrete, which are obviously this line of anti-tank blocks. But just behind me here, we've actually got some complete ones. I'm not too sure how far they run, but I think I'll probably just get down into this ditch and take you for a little look. And here we are. Sadly, the lighting isn't the best on this glorious sunny day, but here we go. We've got some rather nice anti-tank blocks. They're only the smaller, sort of 3.5 foot, but see if I can show you them. There we go. And there's another one behind it, and it looks like there's actually quite a run of them there. But just down here, we have actually got a ditch. Now, I'm not sure if this is just sort of some old existing ditch from drainage or something, or whether this was a bit of an additional defence that was built. Because of course, we know to the south side of the town, there were actually anti-tank ditches that were built and not so much the blocks. But there we go, we've got all sorts of bits of them smashed up. So you can really tell the extent of what they actually constructed here, because this ran for, I think we've probably walked a good 1/4 mile by now. And we do also know from maps and diagrams that they continued in this direction for, gosh, almost sort of a mile as well. So we're going to continue down this footpath and see if we can find any more.
Really quite surprising. We've just walked maybe about 5 minutes down there where we saw that first family that Emma just pointed out, all the little bits. And as we've come out of the ditch and walked along this pathway, I mean, it says on the OS maps and the information you have,
the Pillbox study group, where I get a lot of my information, said that there was some, or at least a anti-tank block here, but we've just walked a good 20-25 metres from where I just finished filming, and they just continued all along here.
I want to walk with Emma here, because as we're walking along here, these are in absolutely brilliant, I'm going to say nick, they're in good nick.
They are, yeah.
There's more than one. I've counted so far, maybe 13, 14 of them.
Oh, I don't know, I think we're up to about 20 now. Like, there's another 5 here.
Yeah, there's another 5. So they are continuing. It's actually, wow, just actually kind of impressive, isn't it?
It is. This is actually a really good example
Very good.
of the defences that they built, and we really didn't realise that they were so extent running along here.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool to see, isn't it? It's a shame they're a bit overgrown and we can't take better photographs. And I imagine in the height of summer it's probably even more overgrown, but yeah, really good to see that some of these actual defences still remain to this extent. But I think maybe we'll continue down a little bit, shall we?
I think we're going to. We are going to be obviously following this line until the end, hopefully.
They do stop not too far from here, apparently, but there's a couple more things that we want to show you on the way back to the car.
That's it. So we're going to carry on heading down, and we'll switch the camera on and see yourselves in just a little while. So where we just had the camera on, couple of minutes ago saying, oh, these are getting longer and longer, we've now actually come to the end of them, which still we found another 20 at least.
Yeah, these, like I said, these run for, we've come what, good 50 to 70 metres until we've reached the end of this particular run. And these ones, you can see them actually a lot better, especially this very end one just here. I mean, really clear as day, aren't they? I mean, that's, I know I've already said it, but it's quite impressive that they're actually so extent here. And there might be a few more if we carry on down. So as we've come this far, we may as well continue until we reach what we believe is the end of the ones that are still remaining.
That's it. So I think what we'll do is we're going to carry on walking, and we'll speak to you very soon. Hopefully a bit more excited as much as what this was. Yeah. Okay. So we've now had a search around the area. Yeah. We couldn't find any more anti-tank blocks, but your thing says there is, but I think we found more than what they said there was. So I think our fulfilling of anti-tank blocks have been done.
I think we feel fulfilled, when it comes to the anti-tank defences at the moment.
That's it.
Maybe one day when we've got a little bit more time, because we're running short time, we'll come back and see if we can find them.
We will. But where we're going to be heading, now we're going to head down this path, because obviously we just come through this small alleyway. We're going to be heading down this path to where the portal was.
Well, if you look at the tree line just behind us, that's actually the railway track.
The railway tracks.
And you can see it quite clearly there. So we're going to head back down to that railway line, because we've got one or two things to show you, like I said, on the way back to the car.
Then we'll do our climactic finish. But please stay on, because we're actually enjoying this little walk today.
Nice. Right, we'll see you over there.
And on our last surprise of the afternoon, and it's taken a long time to get here, because on Emma's pin, it is in kind of the correct place, but it's literally hidden and we couldn't see it. But we have found it.
Yeah, that was a bit of an adventure. We've come along the railway line again, and this is in fact, yet again, the track bed from where the bridge was. We've sort of come back, and we knew there was a pillbox here.
We did.
And we knew exactly where it was, but could we find it? No, we couldn't. And the reason why is because we were on the other side of it, and this is just bushes, isn't it?
It is.
So we've come around the back, and we just about almost missed it, but there is in fact behind us a pillbox. I can't really see too much of it. I think it could again be a Suffolk Square Type 22 variant, but I think I might take you for a little poke inside and see if there's actually anything that I actually can show you.
So I'm going to lend Emma my torch, because she's forgot hers today, and I'm going to hand the camera over to her, and she's going to take you have a look around this area. We could have come in from another pathway just here, but it's covered in nettles, and we probably would have done that if we saw it. But this is the only opening, so I'm going to hand over to Emma now, and we'll see you in a sec.
So I don't know how well you can see that, but here's our pillbox, and we can just about see that there's at least one loophole here, but here's the entrance in, and we've not yet had a look in here yet, so I'm not too sure what to expect. But my torch isn't great because I think the battery's going, but there we go, we've got another little loophole here. I'm assuming that this is, like I said, another Suffolk Square Type 22 variant. Let's take you for a little peek inside. I'm always a bit cautious, never know quite what you're going to find in these. But, here we go. I'm not too sure how well you can see. I think I'm just going to adjust the light so you can see a little bit better quickly. And there we go, that's a little bit better. But yes, this is in fact another Suffolk Square. And not too bad, this one. There's not really any graffiti on the wall, so maybe I can show you a little bit closer at the rifle shelves that we've got here, and the loopholes. There's no remains of any sort of loophole shutters. They would have often had a shutter or some sort of system that they would have put inside there, but we can't see anything like that here. But no, it's very dark in this one, so unfortunately I can't really show you too much. But we've got that that roof there, which again you can see the marks from the wood, the witness marks where they would have just poured the concrete in and made the roof there. But I mean, this pillbox, you really just would not know it was here when we walked past it once before we even saw it, and we were looking for it, so that says a lot, doesn't it? But there you go. So I think I'm going to turn you around and show you the way that I've come in, and head back out there, because before we say goodbye to you, we do in fact have one last thing we want to show you on the way back to the car. So I'll see you there.
And here we are on our last part of the video, so don't switch off just yet, because we have got literally a pillbox in the middle of an abandoned golf course, which is now a country park.
That's it. I mean, we're not too far away from that railway line that we've been following. And yeah, like Stu says, kind of in the middle of the old abandoned golf course is this pillbox. But this one is a little different to all the others that we've seen at Corton and today, of course, along the railway line, because this is just a standard Type 22 hexagonal pillbox. And you can see it's got the entrance there, which has sadly been blocked off. But I suppose it's probably better since it's in a country park. And it's got a little loophole there, small rifle sort of slit that they often had next to the doors. But we can't really show you too much more now, can we, Stu?
No, we can't. I mean, it's quite interesting that we've just seen this and just a little bit of the loophole there. That's quite interesting to see.
We believe that when they were building the golf course, they used some of the sort of excess soil and just dumped it on top, I suppose.
Make more mounds up. That's basically what they wanted,
yeah,
wasn't it?
I don't know when this golf course was constructed, but I suppose at a time when this was an eyesore, so maybe they wanted to get rid of it.
But we have had a really good day today, haven't we? We've seen a lot
We
today.
certainly have, and we've seen a lot more than we thought we were going to.
And we got quite excited. I know we did get excited about a couple of
blocks.
big blocks of concrete, but we didn't expect to see so many in one line, did we?
I mean, we've been aware of the pillboxes and some anti-tank blocks for some years, and many people, if you watched our last coastal video, said to us, "Oh, you know, there's pillboxes around there," and we said, "Yes, we know," but we were doing the coastal defences that day. Today we've come in for the stop lines, the nodal points or the defended sort of areas and towns, which of course Lowestoft was a really important defended
town.
It
was. Absolutely.
And these anti-tank blocks and ditches continued around the entire town once upon a time. So it's been quite fascinating to find some remnants of that.
It has. But as we're at the end, I will like to ask for your newcomers and you old people. Please keep on liking and subscribing. And commenting. Please ask us questions. Maybe you can fill us in with some information that we were missing.
That's
maybe.
It. Yeah. 'Cause we're not experts or historians or anything like that. We're
but
just
we do
interested.
try. But thank you very much for all your valid support over the last couple of weeks. It's been good.
And your patience for the last 2 weeks, because we haven't actually had time to put out a video or do any recording. So we do apologise. It's going to be a bit hit and miss, unfortunately, over the next month, because we've got holidays and things coming up. But there's still plenty of videos in our playlist. So if you're interested in more defences, the Suffolk coast, we're going to continue up the Norfolk coast. Then check out the playlist for that. And of course, if you want to see a little bit more of our faces and you're not too fed up with them, then we do have a Patreon where you can join that for £3 a month, and you can get some additional content when we have been able to do a little bit of that just lately. So we'll put the information in the description below.
Thank you.
But here from the defended town of Lowestoft and its many, many defences, which much more than we expected to find.
That's it.
We hope you've enjoyed taking a little tour with us today.
And we'll see you very soon on the next adventure.
So thanks for watching as always.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.